Hello, I'm Larry Groebe with the Generic Radio Workshop. Scary days these are. Oh, and it's Halloween too. You know, our fascination with the ghoulish and macabre goes way back. Much of it can be attributed to author Edgar Allan Poe. Poe could be considered the original Goth. In the early 1800s, his tales pioneered new kinds of American storytelling. Certainly the horror story, as we'll hear, but also the detective genre. Although he died at age 40 in 1849 of suitably mysterious causes, his stories live on after him. They've been told many times, many ways. Today's version is streamlined, like so many things from the 1940s. We Know A Poe Story was a 13-week series produced by the Radio Play Service of Hollywood, in script form for sale across the country. For $300, you bought the scripts and you broadcast using your local acting talent. Now, our Project Audion director, Tom Wilkens, has selected 3 of these tightly condensed Edgar Allan Poe 15-minute adaptations for our Project Audion show today. They haven't been heard in 70 years. So for these scary times, we know a Poe story.
A Poe Story. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For tonight's Poe story, we've chosen one of his most famous, The Telltale Heart. The Project Audion players are with us and will do their utmost to make this as exciting as possible.
Yes, I'm nervous. Very, very nervous. I always have been. But why do you say that I'm mad? This disease has just sharpened my senses, not destroyed them. Above all, the sense of hearing. I can hear all things, everything in the heavens and under the earth. How then am I mad? Listen. And observe how calmly I can tell you the whole story. How the idea first entered my brain is impossible to say. But once conceived, it haunted me day and night. The reason for it? There was none. Hate? There was none. I loved the old man. He had never wronged me. For his money I had no desire. I think it was his eye. Yes, that was it. One of his eyes resembled that of a vulture, a pale blue eye with a film over it. Whenever it fell upon me, my blood ran cold. And so, by degrees, I made up my mind to take his life and rid myself of the eye forever. You still think me mad, don't you? You wouldn't think so if you'd seen me planning his murder. You should see how wisely I proceeded, with what caution, with what pretense I went to work. I was never kinder to the old man than during that whole week before I killed him.
Hand me my medicine.
Yes, sir? Can I get you anything else, sir?
No, I have everything I want.
There seems to be a bit of a draught in here. Shall I close the window?
No, that doesn't bother me at all.
Would you like a footstool, perhaps?
Say, what's the matter with you lately? Why all this attention? You'll be asking for a raise in pay the next thing I know.
Oh, no, sir. I am perfectly satisfied with my wages.
Oh, what is it then? Look at me and tell me.
Must I look at you?
Why not?
It's that eye. It follows me everywhere, day and night, asleep and awake. I see that pale blue eye swimming in a mist, vacant, staring, but all-knowing, all-seeing.
Oh, what's wrong with you? I've been blind in that eye for 20 years.
Couldn't you wear a patch over it?
No. If you don't like the way I am, find another job.
I'm sorry, sir. Very sorry. And I shan't ever mention it again. Never again, sir. No, sir. After that, every night at about midnight, I turned the latch on his door, oh, so gently, and opened it. And then I put in a dark lantern, all closed up so that no light shone out. Oh, you would have laughed if you could have seen how cleverly I did it. I moved slowly, very, very slowly, so that I might not disturb the old man's sleep. It took me a whole hour before I was far enough inside so I could see him as he lay upon his bed. Would a madman have been as wise as that? And then, when my head was well inside the room, I cautiously undid my lantern, just enough so that a single ray of light fell upon that vulture eye. I did this for 7 long nights. Every night, just at midnight, I found the eye was always closed, so it was impossible for me to do the work. You see, it was not the old man who vexed me. I did not want to kill him, but his eye must die. That evil eye must be destroyed. Every morning, I went to his room, acting as cheerful as possible.
Come in.
Good morning. Your coffee, sir?
Good morning.
Did you sleep well, sir?
No, I didn't. Have you ever heard anything about this house being haunted?
Oh, haunted? No, sir. Why do you ask?
Well, for the past week, I've been having the strangest dreams every night at midnight.
It must be something in your diet, sir. I'll speak to cook about it.
Don't bother. It's not important, except that they don't seem like dreams. They seem too real.
What happens?
At first, so slowly it seems like hours, the door opens, and I can dimly see a face peering in at me. Then my heart begins pounding so loud it sounds like a drum beating in my ear. After that, I close my eyes, and it all goes away.
Well, I'm sure it's just a nightmare, sir. Perhaps if you called out, it would break the spell.
If it happens again, I'll do that. I'll cry out and break the spell.
The night after this conversation, I was more than usually cautious about opening the door. Never before had I felt the extent of my own powers. I could scarcely contain my feelings of triumph. To think that here I was, opening the door little by little, and he not suspecting me. His room was black as pitch, and I kept pushing the door, slowly, steadily, open. I had my head in and was about to open the lanterns when my thumb slipped on the latch.
Who's there?
I kept quite still and said nothing. For a whole hour I did not move, and I did not hear him lie down. He was sitting up in bed, listening. Presently, I heard a groan. It was not a groan of pain or grief, oh no. It was the low, stifling sound that rises from a soul in mortal terror. I knew what the old man felt. For many a night, while the world slept, it had welled up in my own bosom. I knew he was lying awake ever since the first slight noise. His fears were growing. He tried to imagine them causeless. He was trying to comfort himself, but all in vain, for death was stalking with his black shadow before him. Although the old man could neither see nor hear me, he could feel my presence in the room. When I had waited a long, long time, I resolved to open the lantern a little. At last, a single dim ray, like the thread of a spider, shot from the crevice full on the vulture eye. It was open, wide open. Oh, it chilled the marrow in my bones. And then I heard it. It was the beating of the old man's heart. I scarcely breathed. I held the lantern motionless and maintained it upon the eye whilst the hellish tattoo of the heart increased. It grew louder and louder every instant. The noise excited me to an uncontrollable terror. The beating grew louder and louder until I thought his heart would burst. Would the neighbors hear it? I opened the lantern wide.
You!
Yes, it is I.
Oh, what do you want?
That dull blue eye with its hideous veil. That's what I want.
Oh, go away! Go away!
Not without that eye. I must have it. I mean to smother you to get it. Dead. I'll see that vulture eye no more. Oh, it's gone. And I'm free. I'm free. I removed the pillow I had used as an instrument of murder. The old man was dead. Yes, he was stone dead. His eye would trouble me no more. And then I took up 3 planks from the flooring of the room and placed the body between the scantlings. Now I removed the boards so cleverly, so cunningly, that no human eye could have detected anything wrong. There was nothing to wash out, no stain of any kind, no blood spots whatsoever. When I finished with these labors, it was 4 o'clock, and still as dark as midnight. The tower bell sounded the hour. And there came a knocking at the street door. I went down to open it with a light heart. The eye was gone. I had nothing to fear now. I opened the door.
What's going on here?
Well, nothing, officer. Nothing that I know of.
What's all the racket about?
Racket?
The people next door say they heard a man screaming.
Well, it couldn't have been in here. I'm the only person in the house, and I heard nothing.
I'm coming in to check and look around.
Of course. Come in. Come in.
Can't account for that scream, eh?
Oh, I may have screamed myself. I had a nightmare at about 1 o'clock.
Who lives here?
Just the master and I.
Where is he?
Gone to the country, and I'm staying alone at present. I'll show you over the house. We'll start here on the bottom floor. I smiled. What had I to fear? I took him all over the house and encouraged him to search. I led him at last to the master's bedroom. I brought out the old man's treasures, secure and undisturbed. In my enthusiasm, I asked him to sit down and rest, while I, in the wild audacity of my triumph, placed my chair over the very spot beneath which the corpse of my victim lay. The officer was satisfied. My manner had convinced him. I offered him refreshments.
That's very generous of you.
Here, try this. It's the master's finest wine.
Smells awful good. Sure your boss won't mind?
Quite sure. He'll never say a word about it.
Must be a good man to work for.
Very generous.
Say, this is good.
Wine is a traitor. First a friend, then a deceiver, then an enemy. Have another drink.
Don't mind if I do.
Do you hear that?
Nothing but the wine being poured from the bottle.
Here's a toast.
Who for?
My master. He sleeps. He sleeps. Oh, may he sleeps as it is lasting, so be deep. Soft may the worms about him creep. Far in the forest dim and old for him, may some tall vault unfold, some vault that oft hath flung its black and winged panels fluttering back, triumphant, o'er the crested palls, of his grand family funeral.
Stop it! Stop it! You give me the creeps.
Some sepulchre, remote, alone, against whose portals he has thrown in childhood many an idle stone. Some tomb, from out whose sounding door he never shall force an echo more. Thrilling to think, poor child of sin, it was the dead who groaned within.
That's enough of that. Wine certainly does things to you.
It's getting louder and louder and louder!
What's getting louder?
Can't you hear it? Pa-pound, pa-pound, pa-pound.
I can't hear a darn thing.
Can't you stop it? Stop it! Stop it!
Hey, have you gone crazy?
You're just pretending you can't hear it. You're making a fool of me. You think you're a cat playing with a mouse. Well, your game is over. I killed him. I admit it. Tear up the floor and stop the beating of that hideous heart. I can't stand it any longer. I can't stand it. That's why they think I'm mad. My senses have all been sharpened, not destroyed, not dulled. Above all, the sense of acute hearing. I hear all things in the heavens and under the earth. I hear everything. I hear everything.
You have just heard Edgar Allan Poe's The Telltale Heart by the Project Audion players. Project Audion uncovered this unusual series for your enjoyment. Take heart, because we will bring you another Edgar Allan Poe classic soon. We know a Poe story, and we hope you'll be listening.
We Know A Poe Story. Sit back, get a grip on your senses, and listen as we present We Know A Poe Story. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For tonight's Poe story, we've chosen the grandfather of all detective stories, the Purloined Letter. When it first appeared in a magazine way back in 1843, it caused quite a sensation. It isn't the detective story it was then, but it's still a pretty good yarn.
At Paris, just after dark, one gusty evening in the autumn of 1839, I was enjoying my pipe in my little library when there came a loud knocking on the door. I wasn't expecting visitors, so I had no idea who would be calling. It was therefore a great surprise when a woman, obviously a great lady, muffled and masked, slipped into my little apartment.
Monsieur, I need your help.
Really?
Yes, and you can't refuse me.
What is your trouble?
Do you know who I am?
I believe you're the Duchesse de
Never
Leclerc.
mind. I can see you know me.
Then tell me how I can be of assistance.
I have been very foolish.
Has your husband found out about the Count de Montpre?
No, but he will, unless you help me recover the letter.
Never write letters you might regret.
I didn't write this letter. It was sent to me by the Count. It's filled with endearments and foolishness. If it ever fell into my husband's hands, there'd be trouble, serious trouble.
You've lost this letter?
No, it was stolen by the Emperor's minister, Dupré. I'll tell you exactly everything. It arrived one morning about a month ago. I had just finished reading it. Without warning and without being announced, Dupré came into the room.
Good morning, madame.
Monsieur Dupré, you startled me. I wasn't expecting anyone.
I must have stepped into the wrong room. The servant told me your husband was here.
My husband's study is through that door. I'll show you the way.
Thank you, madame.
After I'd shown him into my husband's study, I came back for the letter, which I'd placed on a table, but I found it was gone. It had been stolen by Monsieur Dupré. That afternoon, he called on me.
My business with your husband this morning was very unsatisfactory.
I'm sorry, but that doesn't concern me.
Oh, but it does, from now on.
In what way?
My son-in-law is to be appointed governor of Martinique, and I'm leaving it to you to convince your husband of that fact.
But why? I have no interest in your son-in-law.
You do have an interest in the Count Barre de Maupre. And if I were to show your husband a letter I accidentally picked up this morning, it would undoubtedly cause you great unpleasantness.
You'd blackmail me.
Call it that if you'd like, but see to it that my son-in-law gets that appointment.
Three times since then, he has made me intercede with my husband. Now that he has this hold on me, he's making my life miserable.
Have you done nothing to get the letter back?
I have the prefect of police on my side, and he searched the minister's house 3 times.
How thoroughly?
Every inch of every room, the furniture has all been taken apart. The floors were removed. Every trick and subterfuge known to the police has been used, but without success.
Perhaps he has it on his person.
No, 3 times he's been waylaid. He did not have the letter. What could he have done with it?
A number of things.
As the greatest detective in Paris, I beg you to get the letter and return it to me.
There is a reward, of course.
Yes, 50,000 francs.
That makes it really worthwhile. I'll get it for you.
Oh.
It's very simple. I shall talk to the minister. I shall learn what sort of a mind he has. I'll know then what he would do with the letter. The rest will be easy. Tell me, what did the letter look like?
He was large and square, addressed to me in a bold black hand, and the seal is small and red.
If you'll call again tomorrow, day after tomorrow, I'll have this letter. When you come, don't forget to bring the 50,000 francs.
You're underestimating Dupré. It won't be as easy as that, I promise you.
When Madame called 2 days later, I handed her the letter.
This is it? How did you do it? Where did you find it?
As I told you I would, I called on the minister. He received me kindly.
Come in, Dupin. But don't ask me for the letter. I don't care to discuss it.
I have no intention of talking about the letter.
Perhaps you'd like to search the place. Perhaps you'll succeed where all the others have failed. Would you like to stick long needles through the upholstery? Take the desks apart, hunting for secret drawers? Or maybe you'll find it hidden in the hollow leg of a chair or a table.
Those things entail so much labor, and as you know, I hate to exert myself.
You'll never find it. No one will.
You're very sure of yourself, aren't you?
I know the human mind, and I make it work for me.
Thank you very much, monsieur. I'll see you again.
You're a disappointment to me. I thought I'd see a great detective at work.
You have seen a great detective at work. I left because my mission had been accomplished. I knew he had to keep the letter where he could get at it quickly. So he would use the same method employed by magicians, misdirection. The safest place to hide the letter would be in a letter. I looked around the room. Under the mantel hung a trumpery baseball card rack. It had 3 or 4 compartments and contained some dusty calling cards and a letter that was soiled and crumpled and nearly torn in two. It was addressed to Monsieur Dupré in a fragile hand, and the seal was large and black. It had been thrust casually into the rack. Now, Monsieur Dupré was a methodical man who would not tolerate such carelessness unless there was a reason for it. I knew then that this apparent slackness was deliberate. This was the letter I was after.
You're remarkable.
Oh, yes, thank you. Now, would it be worth an extra 10,000 francs to be rid of Monsieur Dupré forever?
It would never do to have him assassinated.
Oh, of course not. We'll have him killed in a duel or banished, honorable and above board.
He's too clever for that. No one could trap him into a duel.
I could.
Oh.
Don't tell anyone you have the letter, and when he comes with another demand, refuse him. The desired result will ensue. The Duchesse paid me the extra 10,000 francs and did as I advised. Dupré called and made his demand.
You are to keep your husband from the cabinet meeting this afternoon.
I'm very sorry, but I can't do it.
You mean you won't do it?
That's right.
I don't want him there. He'll spoil my plans, and I won't have that happen.
I've let you bully and threaten me long enough. Now I'm through. Do as you like about it, but I refuse to go to my husband on any more of your slimy errands.
Then I'll go to him and tell him about that letter.
Go ahead. You'll find him in the next room.
I will.
I'll go with you.
Monsieur, may I come in?
Come in.
I hate to disturb you, Your Excellency, but there's something very important I must tell you.
Pray, continue.
It's a well-known fact that a husband is always the last one to hear of his wife's actions, especially when these have been of a scandalous nature.
Have you been having trouble with your wife, Dupré?
No, Your Excellency, I am a bachelor.
What are you driving at?
Some time ago, I accidentally picked up a letter addressed to your wife.
You gave it back, I hope?
No, the letter was from the Count to Maupre.
A fine young man.
It was a love letter.
And you kept it?
I did. I told your wife I wouldn't stand for her deceiving you. I threatened her with the letter, told her that unless she broke off all relations with the Count, I'd let you read it.
I don't believe you. But go on.
Your wife has just refused, so there's nothing left for me to do but tell you of this letter.
Madeleine, is this true?
Not a word.
You deny that the Count wrote to you and that I have the letter?
I deny there was ever a letter. Why should the Count write to me when he can call any time he wishes?
That is true.
Would you deny the letter if I produced it?
No.
Very well. Remain here and I'll bring it in 15 minutes.
He's a slimy man. Plays with reputations as though they are toys.
You are sure there is no letter?
He's a wicked man, a sly man who plays with reputations as though they were toys.
You are sure there is no letter?
Of course I'm sure.
Then this is nothing but a malicious attempt to ruin your good name.
Yes,
The man should be horsewhipped.
I agree with you.
Pinter!
There is the letter, Your Excellency. Read it.
Before I do, let me say that you have accused my wife of acting dishonorably toward me.
You'll find the proof in that letter.
I don't believe you. But if this letter is what you claim, its contents must remain a secret.
Of course.
On the other hand, if you have made my wife's good name an object of malicious gossip, I shall expect you in the forest of Versailles at daybreak tomorrow morning.
Read the letter.
I will. The easiest person to deceive is one's own self.
I beg your pardon?
That's what's in the letter.
That's not what I read.
If you saw anything else in this letter, then your mind is diseased, and you should resign from the government.
But
You are not a fit person to help with the business of France. Your shameful scheming and conniving has upset your mental balance.
Oh, I don't understand it.
Meet me in the forest of Versailles tomorrow morning. Bring either your resignation or swords. Either will suit me perfectly.
Monsieur Dupré resigned his portfolio and has gone to live in Italy. I doubt he will ever return to France.
You have just heard a presentation of Edgar Allan Poe's The Purloined Letter, brought to you by Project Audion. We detect an interest in hearing more of these tales, so tune in again soon when we return with another Edgar Allan Poe classic. We know a Poe story, and we hope you'll be listening. We Know a Poe Story. Sit back, get a grip on your senses, and listen as we present We Know a Poe Story. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For tonight's Poe story, we have chosen one of his most thrilling tales. It's called The Fall of the House of Usher.
had been a dull, dark and soundless day, with clouds hanging oppressively low in the heavens. For many hours I'd been riding on horseback through dreary country, and as night drew on, I found myself within view of the melancholy House of Usher. My first sight of the building filled my spirit with a feeling of insufferable gloom. A cheerless house with bleak walls and vacant, eye-like windows. The grounds were covered with rank weeds and the white trunks of decayed trees. There was an iciness, a sinking, a sickening of the heart as I contemplated the dreariness of the House of Usher. For the next few weeks, this mansion of gloom was to be my home. Its owner, Roderick Usher, had been my boyhood friend, but many years had passed since our last meeting. A letter had come from him, a letter which spoke of illness, of mental disorder, of an earnest desire to see me. Such a letter left me no room for hesitation, and I answered it in person. An old servant with stealthy step led me in silence through many dark and intricate passages into the studio of Roderick Usher.
Would you wait in here, please?
It's dark in here. Can you draw the curtains or bring a light?
No, sir. He wouldn't let me. He can't stand the light and lives in darkness.
How can he stand to live in this murky place?
I don't know, sir, but he wouldn't have it no other way.
Would you mind telling him that I'm here?
No need to. He knows it.
But how?
He knows everything. It's his hearing. The faintest whisper is loud for him to hear. He knows every word we're saying.
That's fantastic.
Yes, sir, it is. It gave me the creeps at first, but now I'm used to it. Now, if you'll excuse me, sir, I'll have one of the maids fix your room.
When the old woman had gone, I went to a long, narrow, pointed window and held aside the curtains to peer out into the unfriendly darkness.
Please, drop the curtain. The light hurts my eyes.
But it's dark outside.
For you, perhaps. But to me, it's bright and brilliant.
Is that better?
Thank you. You've come in answer to my letter. I knew you would. And I'm glad.
Your letter worried me. I knew something was wrong. What is it?
So many things are wrong. I'm strangely afflicted.
You look quite well.
I need help.
What can I do?
I don't know. I had a strange sharpening of my senses. To me, it's as bright in here as the noonday.
That's remarkable.
Not only my sight, but, as my servant told you, my hearing is painfully acute. Listen.
I don't hear anything.
There's someone walking down the hall. They're approaching the door. I hear a hand placed on the latch.
Roderick, I'm afraid to be alone any longer.
What is it now?
I'm going to die. I know it. I can feel it, and I don't want to die alone.
You're looking quite well. I'm sure it's only your imagination.
I'm going to die, I tell you, and soon, too.
Is that all you can talk about? I've listened to you for months.
Each day I waste away a little more. Each hour I become a trifle weaker. I'm afraid to die. Afraid.
Her outburst left her so weak, I had to carry her to her room. When I returned, her brother sat with his face buried in his hands.
we only knew
Knew what?
the cause of Madeline's illness. I've had physicians from all over the world, and it baffles them. I can see her wasting away. I can hear her faltering heart. Soon she'll be dead, and I'll be alone.
From that time on, Madeline Usher never left her bed. During the passing days, I tried to relieve my friend's gloom, but I soon realized the futility of trying to cheer a mind so steeped in melancholy. One evening he came into my room where I was reading, followed by a man whose countenance wore an expression of perplexity.
She's dead. Madeline's dead.
I did everything I could.
I know. This gentleman was Madeline's doctor.
A strange case, a most perplexing case.
And you still don't know the cause of her death.
I'll never know. Unless you allow me to perform an autopsy.
No.
Why not? I might learn a lot from a post-mortem examination.
I won't have it. I won't let you cut, carve, and peer and pry. Madeline's gone, and she shall rest in peace.
Of course, if that's your final decision...
It is.
Then there's nothing more I can say. Madeline Usher died of a strange malady, a rare disease. What it was, I don't know. But an autopsy might tell everything.
Get that idea out of your head, for I'll not permit any operation on my dead sister.
You're depriving those who come after Madeline of their chance at life.
Get out, you ghoul! You desecrator of the dead! Get out!
It was hard to understand my friend's attitude. If an autopsy would save other lives, why object? I told him how I felt.
I can't have an autopsy. Because Madeline isn't dead.
Of course she is. The doctor said so.
He was also so sure he could cure her.
What reason do you have to think that she's still alive?
Because I can hear her heart beat. Listen. Thump. Thump. Thump.
You're out of your mind.
What shall I do? I can't bury her.
You can't keep her here in the house.
I've got to. If I place her in the family tomb, how do I know that doctor won't perform his accursed autopsy? She stays right here.
You can't keep a corpse indefinitely.
I can, and I will.
Where?
In the cellar.
The cellar?
There's a vault down there that no one remembers but me. We'll put her there. We'll keep her in the secret vault.
I helped Usher bear his unfortunate sister to her rest. The vault in which we placed her was small, damp, and entirely without light. In feudal times it had been used as a storing place for gunpowder. The floors, walls, and long archway were all sheathed in copper. The massive iron door was similarly protected. Having deposited our mournful burden, we gazed at the clay that had once been Madeline Usher.
Look at her face. Do you see what I do?
There's a faint blush on her cheek.
Now do you believe me? Now will you admit she's still alive?
It's just a symptom of the illness which killed her.
She's not dead. And I'm powerless to awaken her. See the smile on her lips? It wasn't there when we brought her.
You've got to rid yourself of this delusion or you'll lose your mind.
You're right. I must hang on to the threads of reason I still possess. I mustn't lose my sanity.
After some bitter days of grief, a change came over my friend. He roamed from room to room with hurried, stumbling steps. The pallor of his face assumed a more ghastly hue, and a tremulous quaver of horror characterized his speech.
Do you hear it?
I can hear nothing.
You must hear it. It's louder than the booming of a cannon.
It's just your own pulse beating in your ears.
It's Madeline's heart.
If you think she's alive, then go down to the vault and see.
I'm afraid. I dare not look, for if my ears are playing tricks, I'll know my mind is gone.
On the night of the 8th day after we placed Madeline in the dungeon, I found that sleep would not come. I tried to reason away this nervousness, but my efforts were fruitless. The storm which had been threatening all evening broke, and I knew I would sleep no more. I threw on my clothes and walked rapidly to and fro. I had taken only a few turns when Usher's step on the adjoining staircase aroused my attention. An instant later, he rapped at my door. Come in.
Have you seen it? Look out the window.
Just clouds flying before the wind.
Not that. Strange, unnatural light that hangs over the house.
It's just a trick of the storm.
Read to me. Clear my brain of these horrid thoughts.
Sit down. What shall I read?
That poem you started last night.
Very well. It was hard by the dim lake of Alba, in the misty mid-region of Weir. It was down by the dank town of Alba, in the ghoul-haunted woodland of Weir.
Why did you stop?
Here, once through an alley Titanic, of Cyprus I roamed with my soul, of Cyprus with Psyche, my soul.
Go on. Go on.
These were days when my heart was volcanic, as the scoriac rivers that roll, as the lavas that restlessly roll.
You're stopping again. What's wrong?
Can't you hear it?
You hear it too, don't you?
Yes, I do.
I've heard it for minutes, for hours, for days, but I was afraid to speak. It's Madeline. She's alive.
After being dead for a week?
She's been alive for days, but I was afraid to speak. If I did, you'd think I was mad.
You are mad.
No, I thought I was, but now she's coming here. I can hear her footsteps on those stairs. I can hear the horrible beating of her heart. She's outside that door. Madeline! I didn't mean to leave you down there, Madeline. I was afraid to look. I was afraid insanity had me in her grasp. Don't come near me. Stay away. Stay away.
You knew I was alive, and you left me down there to die.
No! Madeline, no!
I've come up to die in the light, and you shall die with me. This is the end.
fled from that chamber and from the mansion. The storm was still abroad in all of its wrath, and as I found myself crossing the old causeway, suddenly there shot across my path a wild light, and I saw a blood-red moon shining through a fissure in the house. The fissure widened, and my brain reeled as I saw the mighty walls falling asunder, and the deep, dark pool closed sullenly, silently, over the fragments of the House of Usher.
This has been a presentation of Edgar Allan Poe's The Fall of the House of Usher. This unusual series of broadcasts was unearthed by Project Audion. Tune in again soon, because we know a Poe story.
That's our show, or shows, for tonight. We hope they thrilled you a little and chilled you a little. And we hope you'll return for another Project Audion recreation soon. Check out all our transcontinentally transcribed classic radio recreations on our Facebook or YouTube pages. And if you like what you hear, drop us a line. Until next time, thanks for listening.